Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the OnePlus Nord N30 5G. This is the latest, least expensive phone from OnePlus, so I thought we'd unbox it, set it up, take a look at it, and see what it has to offer. This comes in at a very reasonable $299 and is offered in one color, chromatic gray. You can see that here where it says chromatic gray on the back. It's got 128 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. Let's go ahead and open this up. We'll just cut these here. I didn't have a knife handy, so I'll just use this USB drive here that I have on the edge of it. There we go. And let's go ahead and open it up. So we'll unbox it here and see what we've got. Now, it's available for pre-order at $299, and it looks like, depending on when you pre-order it, you may get some free headphones with it as well. So pretty good deal there. So as far as the overall paperwork in here, it says never settle, sort of a quick start guide or just a bunch of information. Then we've got a little letter that says, "Dear friend, congratulations on your purchase." And then we also have a red cable club card, so a membership card as well. Let's go ahead and set that aside and take a closer look at the phone. Let's see what we've got here. So this is the phone itself. It is bigger than I actually expected, so we'll look at that in just a moment. And then in here we have a Super VOOC charger, and this is capable of charging this phone at 50 watts for fast charging. So it's your typical Super VOOC charger, as you can see here. And then probably we have the typical OnePlus cable here. So like you would expect, we have USB-A to USB-C. So nothing really different there, your typical cable. Let me set the box aside, we'll set the charger aside, and we'll talk about the phone itself. So we'll get this out of the way. There we go. And this is the phone. Let's go ahead and unwrap it. There we go. Let's remove the sticker off the back here. And here's the phone itself. Now this is actually fairly light and sounds a little plasticky, but it is an inexpensive budget phone. This is chromatic gray. It's the only color available. Let's go ahead and take a look around the outside edge. So on the right-hand side, we have a power sleep wake button. On the top, we have a microphone. On the other side, we've got a SIM card tray and a volume up and down. Let's go ahead and pop the SIM card tray out and take a look here. There we go. See what we've got. Now this should allow for not only a SIM card, as you can see here. So it looks like we can have a SIM card, but also expandable storage, something we don't see very often. So up to 1 terabyte you can use as far as that goes. Let's put this back in here. There we are. Then on the bottom, we have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, another thing we don't see very often, which I love to see. We also have a microphone, a USB-C port, and then our speakers. On the back, of course, we have 2 large cameras. Now, one of these cameras is quite good as far as its overall specs in general. It's a 108 megapixel camera, f1.75 sensor, and then we have 2 other sensors. So we have up to a 3 times optical zoom, and there's a 2 megapixel camera for macro and a 2 megapixel camera for depth. So we've got zoom built in, and then of course our flash here as well. Now let's go ahead and turn it on. We'll talk about the display as well. Give it just a moment here to boot up. There we go. Felt some haptic feedback. And let's see what we've got. So as far as the display goes, this is a 6.72-inch display, 2400 by 1080 at 391 pixels per inch. It's a 120 hertz panel, and 680 nits of brightness is its maximum brightness. It's also an 8-bit display, not a 10-bit display like some of the other OnePlus phones. Now internally we have a Snapdragon 695 5G chip, so it's not the latest top of the line from Qualcomm, and again 8 gigs of RAM. Now let's go ahead and see if we can get this set up. Select English. We'll select our region here. I don't see anything. There we go. We'll select United States for where I am. Then we can agree to the user agreement. We've got some optional experiences here. I typically don't select those. And then, of course, we'll need to select our Wi-Fi. After putting my password in for Wi-Fi, the overall haptic feedback of this is okay. Nothing phenomenal, but you can feel it at least. But it reminds me of older phones. We'll give it a second here to get the phone ready. And this actually has a pretty large battery in it as well, 5,000 milliamp hour battery. So this charges fast. Like I mentioned, it looks like we're down to 33%, so we'll try that in a moment. But according to OnePlus, this will charge from 1% to 80% in 30 minutes. It has 12 temperature sensors inside to make sure it stays cool, and it has Super VOOC Endurance Edition charging and a battery health engine. So they've actually been really impressive as far as overall charging speeds. So again, we'll give it a moment. And it's also got something called dual 200% ultra volume mode, and that's because we have a speaker on the bottom and at the top, but it should go super loud. So again, it's taking a moment. We'll give it a moment to get ready and then continue to set it up. Now it's asking to copy apps and data. We won't copy for now. We just want to get to the home screen and see what we've got. It's checking info. Of course, it's going to want us to sign in with Google. I'll just skip that for now, so we'll give it just a moment here. So we'll skip the Google sign in for now. We'll have to do that, of course, to use any of the Google services. We'll skip to the next section here, and then we can set up our fingerprint. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll hit next, and I'll just put a pattern in here. Give it a moment here. There we go. We'll just do a Z. Again, some haptic feedback. And we'll place our finger on the side. So this is where the fingerprint sensor is. That actually works pretty well on some of the folding phones. So not under the screen. I don't mind it on the power button at all. Wants me to continue to move it around. Again, there's haptic feedback every time I press down. There we go. And it's going to get the phone ready. Then we can join the red cable club. Again, I'll skip that for now. And then it's asking if I want to use button or gesture navigation. I actually prefer gesture, so we'll go ahead and hit next. And it brings us into OxygenOS. We'll hit get started. And there we go. So we have the default wallpaper. I'll link that in the description, of course. And then, of course, OxygenOS, and there's actually a system update already. So we'll give it just a moment to finish setup. We'll go into update. You can see the update here. I'll get that installed, and then we'll continue. So this is the April 2023 update for the Android security patch. So hopefully we'll have a newer one after that as well. The phone updated, as you can see here, we're up to the latest update, and we're at the April update. So it looks pretty good. I will say that it is a little sluggish upon boot up, but many flagship phones are even sluggish when you're booting up for the first time. So the overall interface feels smooth. It's 120 Hertz, and I wouldn't say it's the most amazing display, but given the price of the phone, it's pretty good. Now, as far as the camera goes, if we go into the camera here, like I mentioned, it is 108 megapixels. We'll just go in here. And while using the app, we'll allow for that. And I don't know that I would expect this to be an incredible camera, but as you see here, if we zoom in, let me zoom out here. We'll just snap up a quick photo. That gives you an idea. We'll zoom in again. And the video on this only is up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. So you don't have 4K recording as far as video. That's a bit of a disappointment, seeing how many things have that sort of resolution today. And the screen should go fairly bright. It's not as bright as some of the latest phones, but it should be pretty good overall. And as far as battery charging, I have the Super VOOC charger plugged in. Now I have the phone locked. Let's go ahead and plug it in here. And you'll see it start to charge immediately with Super VOOC charging. It's incredibly fast and works really well. You can even see it sort of ramp up the speed. So how fast it's actually charging is always impressive on these phones. So you don't have to do that. Of course, you can use the more reasonable, slower charge. And then there's also game modes here built in as well. So let's agree. And it says welcome to games. And you can get information such as the overall frame rates and more. So we'll hit allow. Give it a second. There we go. And then, of course, you have instant play games that you can just jump right into. Now, as far as pre-installed software, everything's pretty standard with the exception of some OnePlus things with notes. You've got the relax option, a recorder, and their own internet. But pretty much everything's fairly standard as far as overall Android phones in general. Now, as far as the forward-facing camera, let's spin that around here. And we have 720p and 1080p, and let's record. Now we're recording from the front-facing camera of the OnePlus Nord N30 5G, and this gives you an idea of what it's capable of. So let me know what you think of it. It's not going to be the best one out there, but it does go up to 1080p and should work for most things such as conference calls and more. So that should give you an idea of what it's like as far as the overall camera there, and it's a pretty reasonable budget phone with probably really great battery life. It does have OxygenOS 13.1, and as far as its overall size, for those of you wondering, here is a S23 Ultra. As you can see here, it has a skin on the back, but it's actually a pretty big phone as far as that goes compared to the Ultra. So that gives you an idea. It's pretty tall, but it's very, very light. So definitely a very light phone. I'm not sure I really like this overall look with the cameras, but that's what they've decided to do. And then we have these other odd cameras here with macro and more. So not my favorite design there, although it's nice to hold in the hand because it's squared off on the edges. It's easy to hang on to, and it's very rare to see external storage and, of course, a 3.5mm headphone jack. Now, I don't often cover less expensive phones typically, but if you want me to cover this maybe in some shorts or something like that with maybe comparisons to other phones, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Let me know what you think of this. I'd love to hear from you there. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.